Okay. And the magic machine tells me that I'm live, so that I'm going to go ahead and assume that I'm live with no technical difficulties. The audio is running smooth and the visual is running smooth. I hope my last stream didn't come off too intense. Listen, I love micro RPG, micro chapbook RPG. I love Noah Patterson. I love the system. You know what I mean? So, you know what I mean? Like, toads. And, on the reels, like, hey, the elephant in the room, what's going on? Gold medal winner for the live chat participation. Shout out to the elephant in the room. Ignore the elephant in the room. Hard to do when they're rocking the gold medal consistently for live chat participation. Tip of the hat and the tusk to the elephant in the room. Jonaside winning that silver medal. Jonaside. Happy Friday to you. Happy Friday to you. Congratulations on your win. So, look, I love Noah Patterson and I love the Micro Chapbook RPG system. Hey, if you don't have 2 hours to invest in my long form analysis, hey, look, if you like solo role playing games, but we're saying to yourself, you know what this scene is lacking? A loudmouth, crazy guy that's willing to just, go off for like, I don't know, 2-3 hours at a tear. Baby, we got you covered. But if you don't have quite the time and we're just looking for a more concise analysis of what I think as a kind of dedicated player, like I said, like, hey, kind of a fan of the micro chapbook RPG system, hey, I've paid my dues, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like I could say some things every once in a while. Here's the rundown. Here's the bullet points from last time's analysis. So look, it is the micro chapbook RPG system. Micro RPG system has been rocking out since 2020, approximately 2019, 2020. So, we're coming up on, 2 years, though I haven't been around playing for 2 years, not by a long shot. So it's been around for a while and it's been going through some evolutions. Some mechanics have been refined, and I think of what's going on now is that maybe because of boredom on the part of the designer, or maybe on the part of the surrounding community that's grown up around it, maybe there's too many mechanics that are being added. Maybe there's too many things that are being tempted to being put into the soup. So where we are in Halloween of 2022 is that Noah Patterson, the creator, designer, El Supremo, the Grand Dame, the big cheese of all that is, the major of the micro, if you will, coined the term, for Halloween, Countdown to Halloween is releasing a mini dungeon every day throughout the month of October, beginning with a starter module. And I have not, unfortunately, I did not pack, it seems, my big packet of stuff. I packed a lot of my other Halloween. Did I I'll just unpack it and put it to the side already? I don't know. I don't want to go a searching. Anyway, I may have done it like in some sort of subconscious protest, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. Looking at these dungeons that are being released. So he's going to release they're going to release a dungeon every day So, starting with this starter module and then releasing a mini dungeon every day throughout the month of October. So, a couple of days ago, I did my first video kind of review and first impressions of the Black Ink Depths project, as it were, based upon my first play of the the first few rooms of the first dungeon and what I had seen of the material so far. Because you know this is one of these things. It's like, and I talked about this. We talked about this. This marathon project that a lot of people do for the month of October. I'm not talking about Sober October. I'm talking about some people do this thing where they try to watch a horror movie every day for the month of October. Try to watch 30 or 31 horror movies for Halloween. And a lot of people fall short of the mark because it seems like an easy task. I mean, we're not talking about building a tree house. We're not talking about even something as onerous as deleting all of your emails. You know what I mean? We're not talking about a task. We're talking about something, watching a movie is an enjoyable experience. You know what I mean? But to do something consistently 30 times over the course of 30 days, it's a task. It becomes a task. You might not be in the mood for a horror movie. Some days you might be in the mood for a comedy. Some days you just might have a splitting headache, and the last thing you want to do is watch a movie. Some days you might have people in your house that have emotional needs, and they need you. And you just don't have the time available to dedicate to Killer Clowns from Outer Space or Dr. Giggles or whatever. Sorry. DVD collector's 10th anniversary of Dr. Giggles. I've been saving you for so long since I found you at that yard sale. I've been holding on to that DVD player, and you're one of the reasons why. Everything else has been upgraded to Blu-ray, but somehow I don't feel like Dr. Giggles is going to make the cut. Somehow I feel like your digital restoration ends at DVD, right? Dr. G. Where was I? So anyway, I get to looking at the Black Ink Depths, and what's my takeaway? Number one, backtracking a little bit. The elephant in the room. I love Dr. Giggles. Well, listen. I wasn't making the case that Dr. Giggles wasn't making wasn't being restored to Blu-ray because it was a just world. You know what I mean? I wasn't making the case that Dr. Giggles wasn't being digitally restored because, it was right. You know what I mean? It was one of those things. You know what I mean? Our fan letters sometimes fall on deaf ears. Mr. Corbin, I think I'm getting confused. Am I getting Dr. Giggles confused with which one was the one? Anyway, I'm blanking on the actor's name, but it's the skit goes something like this. Mr. But yeah, has there been any buzz back stage? When can we expect a digital restoration to Blu-ray? Director's commentary, has there been any discussion? No? And meanwhile, that's not even at any sort of symposium or whatever. That's just me at the autograph signing. We're not even at a con. That's just me, at the supermarket. Kid, you just got to stop approaching me like this. I get it. You're a fan. It's cool. Just call me Dave. You ever think about getting a hobby? Getting out there, talking to a girl? Anyway. So look, didn't I say I was going to give you a brief synopsis? Here we go. Coming at you live. The brief synopsis. What's my take on it? listen, the Black Ink Depths, a lot of mechanics, a lot of extra mechanics, and I don't think, here's the problem. So the evolution of the micro chapbook RPG is the characters used to be built with. I found another, looking at this thing, I found another problem with the balance. These things, the dungeons aren't balanced properly. Micro chapbook RPG had a steep learning curve and were balanced harshly at the outset. And you can look at the characters and see that there's been a degradation of the characters in the Black Ink Depth starter module. They're starting at a 7-point build up, which means they are starting. Okay, look, when Micro Chapbook RPG started, the characters were allotted 7 points to build, to allot 7 points to allot over 4 stats. Later on, that was changed to tell people that they could use, for an easier game, 9 points. Later on, that option to use 9 points was kind of taken away. Why? Because those extra 2 points were used by Noah, the game designer, elsewhere in the character creation process, more specifically in the Gay Realms, and I think also in Neon Road, in different places. In character creation, the people would get to other places, a job, a bloodline or something, where they would get another stat. They would get one of these extra points put in. So instead of being built up with 7 points allocated to these 4 stats, they would end up with 9 points being allocated to these 4 stats. If you go back to the starter module of Black Ink Depths, I can show you. Oh, wait, hold on. Wait, not that one. I'm not trying to be a wise ass here, but here we go. Here's character creation. Ink Shadow Hunters. Look. Ink Shadow Hunters character creation. Whoops, sorry. Those who find themselves lost in the black depths and manage to survive. Now, it's important to remember, become known to others as Ink Shadow Hunters. These people can come from any realm, world, or dimension in the Gay Realms. If you're coming, so Noah's already setting up that characters can be taken from other game systems, including the Gay Realms that they're primarily pushing. If characters come from the Gay Realms where the setup that they're primarily pushing, these other characters would be built with 9 points, which would mean that compared to someone that was built with an Ink Shadow Hunter that was built natively from the starter module, that person would be like 2 levels higher, because someone who's built with 7 points, you gain a point. Under the old system, you would gain a point every time you leveled up. So someone that's starting with 9 points compared to someone with 7 points essentially is 2 levels higher. So that further shows why someone even starting or jumping in with a starter module on the starter module would really be really hamstrung. And the starter module is really, I don't know why the starter module doesn't include at least the option of starting off with a 9-point build. That's really problematic. See, that's the problem that I'm having, is that like I'm really upset that the game isn't balanced, because these games, because here's where I'm going to end up going with this, is that what I did last night, and I had a heck of a time, a great time, is that I played Castle of the Dead, and that's why we have today's title, because Castle of the Dead is like the most famous um, micro chatbook RPG game, for want of a better term. Like, what makes one micro chatbook RPG game, one game and one game the other? It's like the title, and that's it. Because the difference between the first five micro chatbook RPG games is like the difference between the five different people in the Mister books. Remember, like the Mister books is essentially their name, their color, their shape, and what they do. Do you know what I mean? Mr. Lazy, Mr. Square. You know what I mean? Like, it's like whatever. There's less of a difference actually in the things, because it's like the difference between Castle of the Dead and, like, House of Vermin essentially is like, we call these guys zombies and these guys are putrid whatevers. And over here, this melee weapon is going to be a silver topped cane, and over here it's going to be a bastard sword. You like it? That's the difference. The names of a couple of the things. The items in the first five games, the items like are and the armor, like a lot of the armor and the items are exactly the same. You know what I mean? But they're like, the games are pristine, almost like as balanced as goodly. That's the thing that blew everyone away about the first iteration, the first developments of micro chatbook RPG. It's almost like as good as chess as far as the balance is concerned. That's why I'm getting like as passionate about it as I am, because then basically what I think the formula is really, micro RPG works at its best when it's the core formula that came from the first iterations. Like it or lump it. It's kind of like chess. Like it or lump it. What is the whole thing with the OSR, the old school revolution? Like it or lump it. Gary Gygax and Dave Arneson, whatever, kind of may have 90% got it, 85% got it, right? Ken St. Andre looks at Dungeons and Dragons and say, well, you got kind of 75%, 65%. I'm going to take your 65% that I think is halfway decent. You're like, well, actually, like, you probably got like 85%, 80%. So I'm going to fill in the rest, call it tunnels and trolls. And over time, basically, people like refine it, take what they think is the missing 80% that people can't agree with. It's like the difference between omelets, the Western omelet, the Denver omelet, the farmer's omelet. You know what I mean? The broccoli and Swiss. All these different omelets, they're all essentially omelets, and the difference between them are the parts that people can't agree on. I don't like ham, right? I don't like, this person doesn't like that. So the parts that they don't agree on, they can't agree on. You 85% of it they agree on. Whoever friggin' figured out eggs scrambled, kind of put that stuff together, flip it over, keep it kind of together, call it an omelet. There you go. And the extra stuff, whatever, people can't agree on. They got their different ways about it. Dungeons and Dragons, Tunnels of Troll. But you keep it, the main thing is you don't mess around with. When you start messing around with the omelet too much is when you get into that San Francisco culinary delight stuff with the emulsions and fusion cuisine. And it's like, you know what I mean? What's going on here? It's a salmon frappe on a fucking dime store. What? And that was the problem that I found with the Black Ink Depths is that when I got into it, when I played it, and then I looked at the monsters and I looked at the traps and I looked at the number of mechanics that were layered into the traps and the number of mechanics that were required to be tracked over time. All these things seem like great ideas, but when you realize that each of these great ideas, you get bored. Oh, you're bored playing the traditional micro chapbook RPG. It's the same thing over and over again. And people have the critique of the micro, oh, it's the same dungeon crawl over and over again. So you want to introduce a new mechanic. So all of a sudden you start thinking smart. So you introduce a new mechanic over here, and you introduce a new mechanic over here, and you introduce a new mechanic over here. But what you don't realize is that if you introduce a new mechanic over here into the dungeon generation, and simultaneously you've introduced a new mechanic over here into character generation, and you've also introduced a new mechanic over here into monster revolution, into monster generation, at the same time as adding a new mechanic where each monster has a different mechanic. Someone has a healing mechanic that every third roll, if they get a particular number, they're going to heal for a particular amount. Well, now I got to keep track of that rule to monitor for when it is going to come up, when it is going to possibly going to come up, and then remember to roll for it and keep track of it. And each of those things is another thing to keep track of. And like I said, they all seem like great ideas to spice it up. But when you start adding them in, and then all of a sudden, if you start adding them in a way that it becomes ingrained into the system, then all of a sudden the system starts getting, bloated. And the fantastic streamlined system that people were amazed at because it was as balanced and as awesome and as almost as, easy to teach and is easy to understand and easy to explain as Old Maid, right? And worked and was good and is as balanced as seemingly as balanced as chess, all of a sudden isn't like that. And all of a sudden it's kind of cumbersome and the rules aren't making sense. They're not just jumping off the page, clearly explainable and clearly understandable. Now they're obtuse. And they kind of make sense, but they kind of don't make sense, and it doesn't work. And I worry about a new person coming in who says, hot diggity damn, it's October, it's the Halloween season, it's the spooky season. I've heard about this cool, awesome game, micro RPG. Cool, this is a great opportunity. Okay, here's a new system coming out for it. Here's a new game dropping for it. Cool, let me roll, let me go, let me play this. Oh, snap. I keep on dying room one. Yeah, sometimes you would die on room one or two, sometimes on, the first or second iteration of the game, sometimes, but generally you'd make it through. There was a hint that, yeah, you could play it. But the new dungeons, like I said, mathematically, I look at these numbers and I say, mathematically, I don't know how, I don't know how a non-high level, high level, like overpowered character is supposed to do anything with these dungeons. But then again, like I say, I am used to playing at the 1.0, 1.25, 1.5 scale rules. I don't use level dice, which some people do. Some people have leveled their characters using earlier systems where they're not rolling, 2d6 for proficiency. They're not rolling 1d6 for damage. They're rolling higher things, so higher dice. So for them, that's fine. But that goes to my other point of it is standard. Excuse me, I apologize. It is standard operating procedure in the role-playing game community. I've been led to believe I've been led to understand that it's standard operating procedure in the role-playing game community to label modules and supplements with their appropriate levels. We always do that. I've got modules right here. Hold on. Shut my mouth. Basic fantasy, and this is going to be a point, because another thing we're going to say. I always talk about these micro chapbook RPGs. They're incredibly cheap. They're incredibly cheap. They're incredibly cheap. Whatever. If Noah Patterson releases one of these Black Ink Depths mini dungeons every day for 30 days, and I buy one every day, and customers buy one every day, that's $30. The basic fantasy RPG game is a big thing that this guy, Chris Garnerman, put out. That's like $5. So a lot of people put out, stuff like relatively cheap. So the point being is that at a certain point, you got to say, like, yo, you got to take care of your customer, because if you burn people enough times, they're going to be like, what the heck? Because here's the other thing. If I got this channel, right? So ostensibly, I'm here saying, world, check this out. I'm getting behind micro RPG, and I'm saying I'm willing to dedicate my time, energy, and effort to micro RPG, and say I'm going to take my channel that I could say I'm going to take more of a balanced approach, and I'm going to support this game. I'm going to support this game, and I'm taking a lot of time, energy, and effort to say I'm going to go behind micro RPG to try and get people, because gaming systems don't just, even solo gaming systems don't just, survive on air. They, don't. They just, hey, Phaedrus Live, what's going on? I haven't seen any of the very recent stuff, so I'm not aware of these new mechanics, but I have pages of my own, and they help the game and even make it group friendly. That's good. Wonderful. It's very cool that micro RPG is someone that actually does want to shout it out from the mountaintops. There you go. Hey, that's what I'm saying. There you go. Phaedra Live says, Ken St. Andre's pretty rad. Love TNT. Well, there you go. Here's the other thing. There you go. Phaedra's Live says it's pretty good. Yeah, playing the whole Bone Lord Chronicles together is pretty cool too. Yeah, there you go. We're good. I'm going to talk about this. And I'm actually, I'm thinking that I might have to start playing some more other systems like Tunnels and Trolls, just so that I don't become, like, it doesn't become personal. I don't go crazy. Like, I don't become too passionate. But no. But see, here's the thing. So this is that, like, people have to, take care of their own stuff too. So it's like, look, it's like, communities talk. And, if Macintosh fans are, speak to Macintosh and say, hey, Macintosh, you know what I mean? Take care of the company, take care of the system, and what's up with this? And, we're going to speak at the, board meeting and yada. You know what I mean? And we're going to speak at the investors meeting, and we're going to hold up a sign. I'm holding up a sign. I'm saying, look, the system, the game needs to be balanced better. The new, you shouldn't just, throw out dungeons, and not demarcate them as being for high level, whatchamacallit, players or characters, if that's what they should be for. And I don't know mathematically how you could look at these things and think that wasn't the case. And I don't think that you should just, just kind of, well, I mean, look, it's their system. They could do, whatever the heck, they want with it. But if they do whatever the heck they want with it to the point of just flooding the market with whatever, I think it's just going to be whatever. But it just might be, they might know exactly what they're doing. There's a musical artist, a Japanese noise artist called Merzbow. And Meersbo would release a phenomenal amount of music, like just an astounding amount of music, where a typical musician might release, one record or tape a year, or maybe two a year. This Japanese musician, Masima Akita Meersbo, would release like 50 records a year, 15 tapes, 6 7 inches, 13 vinyl, just a ridiculous amount of music. I mean, just it was insane. And it was like counterintuitive. You would think like, my God, he releases so much music, no one is going to want it. It's too much. But the exact opposite would happen. Like the fact that he released so much music almost seemed to create this kind of fetishistic appeal for what he was doing. At least that's the way it always seemed to me, though I kind of, came after the fact. He was much older than me, whatever. So maybe Noah is perfectly aware of the fact that, look, I've said, even though I've looked at this stuff and I say, hey, I don't think that these dungeons are well balanced. I don't think the character generation is tailored well for the demands of what the dungeons are requiring. Also, the dungeons aren't really, in keeping with these quote unquote 1.75 rules as they're stated in the things. I don't know. It's nuts. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. And so I don't know what the actual size of the micro chapbook RPG community is. Noah has a website, like a blog. They're on Instagram. They're on Twitter. There's no activity on Twitter. Their activity on Instagram is largely self-promotional, and I'm the biggest commenter there, right? It is my understanding that there's a healthy Facebook community, though I'm not on Facebook, so I don't really know what's going on there. There is a lot of interaction on Drive-Thru-RPG where Noah is very present, answering people's questions, though the back and forth, sometimes, slows down, because it seems it's hard for me sometimes to kind of, gauge, but it seems like it's hard for me sometimes to sense, whether or not, because it's empirical evidence. My observation is not a scientific observation. It's I look as I'm buying product, as I'm looking at things, I take a look to see what's going on and to kind of get a sense of, what's happening. And the sense, I get is generally, is that I think for the most part, Noah's fan base is kind of a settled fan base. The people who know about Micro Chapbook RPG know about it and, are kind of sold. The people that I think, there are people that are going to buy everything and are going to buy everything. And there are people that are going to buy stuff occasionally a la carte. And never the twain shall meet. And it seems as though whatever happened with the mass of people being exposed to it during COVID has kind of happened. And you know what I mean? I don't know, kind of where we go from there. But then again, I may be so far out of the loop because I don't necessarily hang out on Reddit as much as, post-millennial kid might or whatever. And this scene is so fucking small, it's not even funny. I'll talk to people sometimes, and people people like have skewed perceptions of things. Like we talk about Mersbow. Like Mersbow is without a doubt like the Led Zeppelin of noise, right? He's without a doubt the Led Zeppelin of noise. Mersbow can walk around the streets of Japan unassaulted, right? The Led Zeppelin of noise can walk around the streets of Tokyo. He can walk around, right? The Shibutsu District. Yeah, he can get on and off the fucking bullet train, generally unrecognized, unaccosted. He can get on and off the, Tokyo, Paris. People in Paris will be like, oh shit, like one or two guys will be like, fuck, take a picture of the cell phone, maybe walk past and be like, Mersbow, right? That's it. That'll happen. And he's fucking Mersbow. And that'll be it. And they'll be like and that because he's the biggest guy in noise, but to be the biggest guy in noise is to be generally pretty small, right? Like Thurston Moore is big, right? Thurston Moore does not require a bodyguard. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? I'll be able to get Thurston Moore through LAX. You know what I mean? I got this. Do you know what I mean? Your mission, if you choose to accept it in this round of Microchappic RPG, it's an escort mission. What do I got to do? You got to get Thurston Moore, the Thurston Moore of Sonic Youth, from baggage claim to the limo. Oh fuck! How many 42-year-old guitar players do I have to deal with? You're gonna have to deal with at least 3 of those guys. Oh fuck! Oh man, those are Sonic Youth fans. Oh man, that's gonna be. I'm gonna have to deal with at least like 2 uncomfortable stares and a cough and maybe like 1 approach. Fuck. Yeah. That's gonna be a doable mission. You know what I'm saying? Anywho, whatever. Castle of the Dead, for no reason, is the world's most famous Microchappic RPG game. And it was great. I played this last night for the Halloween season. I had it printed out, normal style. So to make it the Microchappic RPG of fame, I had to fold the 2 pieces and glue them together. I have Castle of the Dead 2 Electric Boogaloo, the bonus remix reissue, which is good because it kind of makes it like the sequel. What it is that it basically has 4 different versions of the famous Castle of the Dead scenario. Castle of the Dead was one of the first scenarios for Microchappic RPG. It was then reissued in a deluxe format in one of the first hard copy collections in the first, like oh shoot, I gotta make a phone call, hold on. Collections. So what this book does is that it collects the first copy of the game that I have the printout of. It reprints the deluxe version that was put in that reissue, and then it does an update for the 1.75 versions of the rules, which basically adds new stat modifiers for the monsters and adds a trap table for the rooms as well. Okay. So I have not played that version for the 1.75, though I'm tempted to kind of give my playthrough from last night maybe a kind of sequel feel. and that's talked about, and you even see the kind of homage to the horror movie sequels, getting it in the Castle of the Dead 2 Electric Boogaloo. In addition to that, there is a kind of reboot, remix, remaster in the form of a version of Castle of the Dead for essentially the micro horror RPG, the modern micro horror RPG with the 80s teens. And there's a new version of Castle of the Dead for those characters to go through. Now, that version has a new mechanic that is for the horror scenarios with this adrenaline and terror mechanic. I'm not opposed to new mechanics. Like I said, I think the sweet spot was core micro chapbook RPG with one extra mechanic. The horror games with the survival, adrenaline, terror, um, you know, the dinosaur game, the Dino Valley with the taming of the dinosaurs and riding them as mounts, right? One extra mechanic, one extra flavor mechanic to make this micro RPG game distinguishable, something a little bit different to give it a little bit of variety. But I think when you start adding all this extra mechanics, like we saw with the Black Ink Depths, where we're having those elaborate Baroque mechanical clockwork apparatus and timing mechanisms that we got to keep track of, then things start breaking down. I have to take a look at this thing because it also involves the mechanics evolving to the point of getting to level dice and stuff. I've looked at this game. I've also looked at another game from Noah Patterson called Winter Fallout that includes some additional mechanics, but not so much as I saw in the Black Ink Depths. Where am I going with that? Looking at both of those games and looking at my experience with Castle of the Dead, and I'll tell you a little bit about my experience with Castle of the Dead before I cut out of this and go on to make my phone call, keeping this game short. I see a rugged source. I see a Reamsey. I don't want to say no to no new mechanics. I want to meet the evolution of the game halfway. So when I looked at Winter Fallout and its new mechanics and its different mechanics of, it has a mechanic that was similar to the mechanic that I protested against in Bats in the Belfry with where I saw this going up and down mechanic and I said, this is getting crazy. There is a mechanic for going down floors in Winter Fallout, but it's much, much simpler. And I looked at it and I said, okay, we can get behind this and we can say, here's an extra mechanic that I can understand and I can possibly work with. Maybe this is a halfway point that I can say we can get halfway through here. And there's an additional mechanic. It's got here also a mechanic where you sneak past enemies using dexterity checks. So Winter Fallout has some 2 or 3 different mechanics. So I want to start looking at these games and looking at the number of additional mechanics. So I might continue and just start looking and looking at games and start just playing more of these games and just being easy with myself and saying, I'm going to look at these games, but not be too hard on myself and not worrying about anything other than having fun. There are plenty of these horror games that I have that I've been looking at, that I was looking at the Halloween season and saying, I can't wait till the Halloween season comes along so I can play this and I can play that. Here we have this. We have a deluxe adventure module, the horror The Horror at Briar Academy, an adventure module for one player. Ooh, very in depth. It looks good. Like to try that. Also, Horror at the Horror at the Harvest Deluxe Adventure Module. This is the Bone Lord Chronicles Volume 2. I also have the complete Bone Lord Chronicles because that was available at sale on Drive Through RPG. I got this one because it's got Lankrith P, where you turn into the werewolf. Little that thing. The small hamlet of Shaden Valley is holding their annual pumpkin festival in conjunction with the year's harvest. The festival centers on an old fable which the town elders speak of. The story tells of a demonic creature who wears a pumpkin for its head. The creature would come out each night during the autumn months and kidnap any child who was disobedient to their parents. You've come to the town as a tourist to experience the fabled pumpkin festival for yourself. You're looking forward to enjoying yourself, eating good food until you can't move, and maybe getting silly drunk on pumpkin ale. We'll omit that part. However, little do you know, your visit might prove more eventful and horrific than you expect. Horror at the Harvest is an adventure module for the microchapbook role-playing game system set in the mountain village of Shadan Valley in the region of Helic Water. It is the second volume in the Bone Lord Chronicles story arc. Thus, this adventure may be played on its own or as part of the larger campaign series of books. This special Halloween edition deluxe adventure module includes a full festival to explore, festival games to play, new autumn-themed items and treats, autumn-themed magic, rules for turning into a werewolf, multiple orgasms, dungeons, and more. Right? So there you go. Right? We also have Hammer and Cross. We have the micro horror. We have all sorts of horror stuff. So I don't think I'm going to do the Black Ink Depths again. But I have Black Ink Depths characters. So I have a guy that died in the Black Ink Depths. I also have Deepest Dungeon that I can resurrect guys from. Stuff. So we got stuff to do. We got games to play. Let me tell you about Castle of the Dead real quick before I go and make my phone call. This was great. Castle of the Dead. Oh my God. So I got 7. This, talk about a balanced game. Oh my God, it was so good. It was so much fun. I got 7 rooms in. And in 7 rooms in, I was down to 3 health and 3 willpower. I thought to myself, I'm going to stop here. Oh man. And then I thought to myself, wait, I better try to get out of here. Let me get out of here, try to get out of this dungeon, back to the village to safety. If I get out of this dungeon, I can pay 5 gold to rest, as per normal standard operating procedure in the land of microchapbook RPG, and I'll have made it. Now listen, when you backtrack, every room you go back into, you got to roll a d6. On a roll of 6, there's additional monsters. So with 3 health and no healing items, I knew one thing. If I rolled any monsters that were anything other than like shoe fly shoe, I was pretty much dead. So I'm in room number 7. I have to backtrack. So each room I go back into, I got to roll that dice, right? And it's only a 1 out of 6 chance, right? It's only if I roll that 6 that I'm going to get additional monsters. And it's only if I roll that 6 and get a bad monster and enough monsters that I'm in danger. But if I get really anything, I'm pretty much dead. Room number 6, roll nothing. Okay, okay. 5, roll nothing. Okay, 4, boom. 3, nothing. Boom. 2. Room number 1, the last room. Roll 6, monster. Wouldn't you know it? Roll the second to worst type of monster. the second to worst type of monster. That was it. I knew it. I was done. I was done. Sure enough, failed the bravery test. So boom, willpower is down to 0. Failed the strength test for the melee, so they hit me and I was dead. So my guy's corpse, I died right as I was about to exit. Brutal, but fun, and in a way much more perfectly balanced at its outset than anything. So I don't know what I'm going to play tonight, but I'm sure I'm going to play something. The hardest decision will probably be deciding what to play. And if it goes too long, I'll probably just play another one of the basic early modules. Maybe you guys will help me decide what to play. Phaedra's Live says, hopefully Noah does like a big collection of the Black Ink Depth stuff. That'd be a ton of content. I asked Noah because I send them the DMs on Instagram all the time. I basically low-key harass them. I said, are you going to collect them? And they basically said that maybe that they would collect them maybe like a week's worth at a time. Like, so basically like 6 modules at a time. I think that they could probably do the whole, like, I don't know, like, they know what they're doing. They're not. I don't think that they're a user. I don't think that they're abusive to the audience. So if I think it makes sense. They would do it by page count. I think it would make sense. I think it would probably be like 5 or 6. I think it would be like. So I think it would be 4 volumes. I think it would be 4 volumes. I bet you it would be 4 volumes between $8 and $14 a volume, depending on if they put them into hard copy or not. I'll buy them all. The first one, the starter module, is already out in softcover. It hasn't been delivered yet. Phaedrus Live says, for sure the prices are too good to be that critical, but a single monster print on demand would be cool. Yeah, so that's the thing. So my passion is this. What it is that I don't know, the prices are too good to be that critical. I don't know if that's necessarily the case, because at the end of the day, what's going to end up happening is other people are going to enter the market. None of these markets stay closed. None of these markets stay closed. Do you know what I mean? None of these markets stay closed. So there's already 4 Against Darkness. There's Tunnels and Trolls. There's people that do private content for Tunnels and Trolls. Like there's that Kraga Khan guy and Don Weiss, which essentially, I mean, I don't know if they're the same guy or the different guys or whatever. It gets weird. But like the whole thing is going to get buggy, because what's going to happen, the next thing that's going to happen, and so for the solo RPG people, is what happened to OSR, which is everyone's going to start doing their own shit. But we'll see. It's going to take 5 years. Because if the prices are too good, what ends up happening is the market gets flooded, and then people just stop buying. Reeves says, have a happy day, CW. I want to go look at the new episode of Toadstool Tarot right now. Take care. We're about to end anyway. We also say hello to Pragmagic, who I may have missed. There we go. But Phaedrus Live, thank you so much for coming by and participating. I sent, and we also say hello to Rugged Source. Rugged Source says, Let's get some chat room dungeon crawling dice rolling going. Chop chop and I'm necromancer. Sign me up. No, absolutely we can play. Absolutely, I'd love to get playing. Reamsey says, are micro RPG games sold in comic book stores like other RPG games, or is it strictly an independently distributed thing? I dare say it's strictly an independently distributed thing. The hard copies are available on Amazon with print on with the PDFs available on Drive Through RPG and other places, I believe. The elephant in the room loves Marisbo. Absolutely. Very good to torture people on the road trips. Rimsey, sometimes the too many ingredients will make a nice tasting dish become weird and unappetizing. Maybe there's too much add to this game. I don't know much about them. I agree. That was my theory. Okay, folks, that is it. That is my theory. You guys can help me figure out what to play next. I've got so many things to play. Oh, so much of the Microchapbook RPG. Yikes. Also, coming up, things that because I need to explore other things. I know I need to explore other things. But I love so much with the Microchapbook RPG. I'll never get away from it completely. But my people that died in both in the Castle of the Dead, as well as my people that died in the Black Ink Depths. I have Madame Mortica's blood offering, so I might need to resurrect. I think I need to send people back for their corpses, and I need to resurrect them, maybe as a construct or as a mummy. And then I also have, like I said, I have a deepest dungeon, so I need to, maybe some of them will go to hell. This is possible in micro RPG. Anyway, folks, I love you. We have the zombie tarot. We will consult before I make a phone call. You must remember this. A kiss is just a kiss. We love Noah Patterson. Noah, I sent Noah Patterson a DM on Instagram. I said, because you have failed to balance the dungeons for Halloween adequately, I have to put you on trial in a kind of mock art, performance art way. Which basically means that if you look in the description box below, I've put the words Black Ink Depths, Days of Rage, Volume 1. Rugged Source also says there's a tons of micro RPG books for free via Kindle Unlimited. That's good to know. There you go. Hey, look, there you go. Phaedra Slav says Alone Against Fear is a good alternative game considering the season. There you go. I have a fair amount of Four Against Darkness, Alone Again. I have some of that stuff. I just haven't gotten into it yet. Anyway. And also coming up, I'm getting into I don't know anything about these game books. I picked up Fabled Lands, and then for the season also, I have an earlier one from 1984, Crypt of the Vampire by Dave Morris. You must remember this. Do 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 do. But for this, what do we get? Oh my. Oh my. 3 of Hazards or 3 of Discs. You better work. But we do work. And our works often lead to good things and are oftentimes divinely inspired or can seem to be divinely inspired. The number 3 is a blessed number. It's a good number. It's a good sign. Things come together in 3s. Man and woman have a little baby. 333 is the magic number, right? Father, Son, Holy Ghost. Triangle is the strongest geometric figure. It really is. Okay. Pyramids and stuff and such. And here we have a kind of a strange image because we have this zombie and this family, but they're getting along together. They're working together. They're able to work together, despite the fact that you would think that they wouldn't be able to. And I think in the context of here, in the context of what's been going on today, and the concept of things working together, I talked about opposition and talking about criticizing, Noah Patterson or these dungeons or how these dungeons are put together. This is a form of work. Critique and criticism is a form of work. It might seem that I'm in opposition, that I'm against something, but being against it, I make it better. In the Bible, it says, as steel is tested by steel, as iron is tested by iron, so is man tested by his fellow man. By working in opposition to things, we make it better. By buttressing and enacting in opposition and putting force against something, we create a stronger thing that can create a pillar of force that more things can be stacked on top of, leading to greater success and higher achievements, according to possibly some bigger, greater plan. Or some theorize and some may say. I don't know. Just ideas. Jonaside says something with werewolves or shape changers. Well, we have the definitely have that in the harvest one. Pragmatic says buy them in print, but I understand the literal weight and price if you haven't the space or domicile or wallet. Phaedrus Life says, how high? I literally just moved my over the blood dark sea to look at my micro chat books. There you go. I love you. I love you. I love you. I gotta go. But if no one told you they loved you today, somebody just did. That's somebody, CW Chanter. Make of that what you will. Thank you so much for joining me in the live chat. Thank you for participating. Remember, we practice Grateful Dead rules here. Means you could take home taping is allowed and permitted if you want to take any of this and edit it, tape it, cut it up, remix it, or rewind it. Do with it as you will. Okay? Take care. May the force be with you.